Patricia Arquette. The actress is speaking out about Gypsy Rose Blanchard's release from prison for the first time since the news broke. If you didn't know, Patricia Arquette portrayed Gypsy's mother Dee Dee Blanchard in the 2019 drama series The Act. She has now spoken up about her reaction when she heard that Gypsy was being released. She said she's all grown up and she's been through a lot, and there's this weird thing of art imitating life and then the reality. And I think from someone who had a very specific, difficult childhood to come into this age of Instagram craziness, TikTok, I don't know, I hope it's not too much. Patricia hopes that people are gentle on her and that she's able to enjoy her freedom because no one should ever go through that. Patricia also said that although she was fascinated by Dee Dee and Gypsy's story because the details of it were so unnatural, her own children were apparently against her playing the character, who we all know had Munchausen syndrome by proxy. She explained that they all knew the story and they did not want her to portray someone like that on screen. Apparently, her kids were concerned that she was actually going to turn into the character when she played her. But of course, she ended up taking the role despite all the skepticism, and she received an Emmy and a Golden Globe for her portrayal, so the controversial decision paid off in the end. She was also right about Gypsy's struggles after being released. She's still new to social media, and already Gen Z is pretty much obsessed with her. In her own interview, Gypsy said, "I'm coming into this brand new. I feel like I'm a new baby bird on the internet. I don't even know how to do all of the emojis. I think they relate to me in a sense because I'm coming out and experiencing things for the first time." So all of this is just a first-time experience for her, which is where the appeal might be. The fact that she's learning about her identity while Gen Z is learning about theirs too. Joey King. The actress is wishing Gypsy Rose Blanchard well after her release from prison. Joey actually played Gypsy in Hulu's series The Act, and she was recently approached by photographers asking for her opinion on the news. She reluctantly answered by saying, "I'm so happy that she's released. I'm so happy for her, she deserves freedom." Though she did dodge a few questions about whether or not she had spoken to Gypsy or has any plans to in the future. Some fans online have been joking about the fact that Gypsy actually hates Joey King because of the way that she portrayed her in a series. From the outside looking in, it's clear that she did a lot of research for the role. The voice was spot on, and so were all the subtle mannerisms. But even though she put a lot of effort into it and did a brilliant job of acting, there is still the ethical question of whether or not we should be making these true crime stories all for entertainment. Thankfully, Gypsy herself hasn't actually watched the series, and she has no plans to do so. When she was asked about her decision, she said it's because she had to live it. I mean, after all, she's suffered her whole life. Now that she's finally free from it, there's no reason that she would want to revisit that place again. It's going to take years for her to truly move past everything that's happened, which is why it sounds traumatic for her to even watch the story based on her own life. She also spoke up about the biggest misconception in her case, which was the way that her mother was portrayed on screen. She said, "I think people tend to forget, or maybe they don't even know, that the reason why my mom was able to snowblind the doctors so much and the community is because she was so friendly. In the shows, they're portraying her as mean all the time, and that's not how it was." According to Gypsy, she was very charming, very relatable. She would give a hug to anyone. She liked to cook for people. Her personality was bubbly and friendly to the outside world. Then of course, we didn't really get to see what happened behind closed doors, where she was a different person entirely.
One of Gypsy's first public appearances were captured after she went shoe shopping following her release. And of course, paparazzi was there to film and ask her questions, and one paparazzi had quite an awkward one ready for her. Did you notice it? No one is really talking about this clip, but I noticed it right away. The paparazzi asked Gypsy if she had any plans, literally right after being released from prison.
Do you have any plans?
Lots of them.
Of course she has plans. Gypsy even replied by saying she has lots of them. Maybe he was just trying to figure out what plans she had, but the question came across quite general and made it seem like, I don't know, a bit odd. But like I mentioned before, no one is really talking about this, so I might be exaggerating when I felt like the clip was awkward, but obviously I want to know your thoughts. And if you don't already know who Gypsy Rose is, well, she was born in 1991 to Dee Dee and Rod Blanchard. Her parents split up before she was born, and within her first 3 months of life, her mom began claiming that Gypsy had several health issues. Rod, who was Gypsy's father, didn't really have a reason to think Dee Dee was lying, and he maintained a close relationship with his daughter. As Gypsy got older though, her medical diagnosis seemed to get worse, and when Hurricane Katrina hit and destroyed their home, Habitat for Humanity actually built the mom and daughter a new home, which was even equipped with a wheelchair ramp. And now that she's further away from her father, their relationship began to fizzle out, as Rod believes that Dee Dee would try to get Gypsy to maintain a distance from him, and because Hurricane Katrina wiped to many medical records, it was now even easier for Dee Dee to claim Gypsy had multiple illnesses. She used a feeding tube and stayed in her wheelchair and was bribed to sit down and not move her legs. Plus, she went through a lot of surgeries, including removing her saliva glands, which has caused her long-lasting effects because her throat's always dry and has to constantly clear it. Plus, Dee Dee even shaved Gypsy's hair and told her it was going to fall out anyways because Gypsy believed some of the things her mom said, which included that she suffered from leukemia. The harm doesn't stop there, as there's a ton of things Dee Dee would convince health officials of, and Gypsy had no other knowledge outside her own home, especially because she was kept isolated and didn't attend school, wasn't allowed to have friends with people her age, and her mom always monitored her relationships. Even when Gypsy tried to object and tell her mom that she didn't think she needed a certain procedure or medication, her mom would be manipulative towards her and would always get Gypsy to comply to her wishes. But that was until she met Nicholas Godejohn through an online website, and the two eventually had the plan to end Dee Dee's life. And since then, Gypsy has shared remorse and states that she's still dealing with guilt to this day. Nick is still serving his life sentence, and if you do some research, you will see why. But eventually, this led Gypsy to be in the hands of authority, where the story would slowly unfold. I think a lot of people are split on their thoughts on Gypsy because of her past actions, but also the reasoning why she did take action. Others I've seen sharing their opinions online and truly don't think that she would have made it out alive if her mother was slowly causing her health to deteriorate and she lacked a ton of social skills and education, as she was always in her mom's care. There has also been instances where Gypsy herself was feared for her life, and many believe if it wasn't Dee Dee, it would have been Gypsy. The whole case intrigues many, as it just is something that is so crazy and it deals with real people and real lives too. And now Gypsy's goal is to raise awareness, as she was a victim of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. And with her being released, it seems like she's a busy girl and she has lots of interviews, talk shows, books, and documentaries all coming out about her life. I actually haven't watched any recent documentaries she's been in, but I did know about this case years ago. Did you know who Gypsy was before, or just recently after she's been everywhere? One question asked was, what was Gypsy's nickname for Ryan, and they both had the same answer, which was Cuddle Muffin. And for Ryan's nickname for Gypsy, they both answered with the same name, and it was Snuggles. But when they asked which Disney princess Gypsy would be, Gypsy said Anna from Frozen, but Ryan guessed Rapunzel from Tangled.
What?
Yeah, what is right? If it still didn't click in why Rapunzel was a bad guess, well, that movie focuses on Rapunzel being held in a tall tower, isolated from the world, and meant to fear everyone except her own mom. And there's just a lot of similarities between Gypsy and Rapunzel. And to be fair, when I saw this clip, I actually didn't notice until I read the comments. One user wrote, "The Rapunzel thing is weirdly realistic," with another replying to that comment writing, "This is how I felt, screams volumes, and made me proud she picked Anna." And after each answer the couple gave, they would briefly talk about each other's answers, but they did skim over that for the Disney question, and many believe that the similarities were why. Do you think Ryan's answer could have made the situation or the air a little awkward, or do you think that they didn't even put the two and two together? Awkward is the perfect word to describe one encounter Gypsy had while appearing on the talk show The View. It all started as a group of ladies talked about Gypsy's past and also what the future holds now that she's been released after spending years behind bars for ending the life of her mother, Dee Dee, who would put her through several medical procedures and even convinced health officials that she needed a feeding tube and a wheelchair, all because of health issues that she had. But in reality, Gypsy suffered from nothing other than a lazy eye and poor vision. And when she appeared on The View, she spoke about her future plans and ongoing advocacy work for other victims before addressing the camera and saying, "If there is someone out there watching right now, please listen to me. Heed my words that you are not alone in this situation. There are other ways out. I did the wrong way." But before she could continue, Joy, who is another host from the show, cut Gypsy off, and honestly, prepare yourself because it definitely was not what I was expecting. Joy said, "No, no, no, honey. No, 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 don't say that," before adding, "You had no choice." And just so we're both on the same page, they're talking about the act Gypsy took to end her mother's life. Yeah, bad time for miscommunication, that's for sure. Gypsy continued to say, "I did something wrong and I paid my dues for it." And that was when Joy realized what was going on and said, "Oh, you mean that part?" And Joy's facial reaction said it all. The other co-host had to remind Joy that yes, Gypsy's story is filled with different emotions, but at the end of the day, harming others is wrong no matter the situation. Eventually they did laugh it off, but in this clip, which suggests that Joy maybe didn't remember what Gypsy did was wrong, or I don't know what happened there. And of course the internet had lots, and I mean lots to say. Majority of the reactions kind of resembled this.
Are you not embarrassed? This is really embarrassing.
Yeah, embarrassed to say the least is what Joy probably felt, but I honestly think it was because of miscommunication. Did you watch this clip online? Because it was everywhere. I thought the interaction honestly went as well as it possibly could have considering the miscommunication. All of them clarified it to Joy and then laughed it off. Gypsy has already accumulated over 8 million followers on Instagram alone within the past 2 weeks. And this doesn't even include the other following she has gained from other social media accounts like TikTok. She also has shared with the media how she's used to all the hate and doesn't let it get to her. After all, she's been in the media for years. But on the other hand, her husband Ryan was just recently into the spotlight. They actually got married behind bars in 2022, and they first met when Ryan watched an HBO documentary on Gypsy's story and wrote her a letter. Even Gypsy admitted more than 250 men sent her letters while she was behind bars. But something about Ryan must have stood out because they have been together ever since. But because he wasn't used to the media attention, it seemed like it affected him. But Gypsy was not gonna let anyone bring his man down. Oh no, because she decided to stand up for him. She basically commented under his Instagram telling him not to listen to the haters because they both love each other. Aw, how sweet. But that's before Gypsy says that his haters are just jealous of him because he is rocking her world every night. And also wrote, yeah, I said it, the D is fire, happy wife, happy life, and the public went crazy. In fact, the comments went so viral that people have been making literal edits of Gypsy. Let's take a look at this one. Wow, I can't believe they had all the transitions, filters, and all. But of course, people seem to be debated on whether Gypsy should be at the level of fame she is currently at, especially because of the whole situation. That video I just showed you has over 800,000 likes on TikTok, and some comments read, why are people editing a psycho? Whereas others are writing, this woman is getting everything she's ever wanted, I'm so happy for her. And no matter where or what, but if it's about Gypsy, a lot of people feel torn. I personally see both sides, but what do you think? Plus, with all the fame she's been receiving, it's only going to be time before she gets hacked, because that's exactly what happened. She explained the situation and even noted that they actually had a suspicion of who it could be, but they ended up changing the password and gained control over the account once again. But that was before Ryan jumps into the frame and says shame on you before Gypsy gets him away.
Shame on y'all.
Oh, baby.
Honestly, kind of funny to me, and it's really crazy how extreme her social media accounts have been growing so much that people would literally hack her just weeks after her being released from prison. The hacker took down her profile picture and changed her username, which honestly, comparing that to other celebrities being hacked, this doesn't seem that bad. I mean, I'm sure we all remember when Rita Ora tweeted that she would release a new song if her tweet got 200,000 retweets. But after only getting 2,000, the tweet suddenly disappeared and Rita claimed her Twitter account was hacked. Scary hackers, am I right? So it could have ended much worse.
Amanda Knox. Amanda has stepped forward to defend Gypsy Rose Blanchard as she attempts to return to a normal life, saying she's in a new kind of prison, and this time the prison is the prison of public opinion. The author and activist was convicted of the 2007 hit involving her roommate Meredith Kircher while she was studying in Italy. The now 36-year-old was freed from prison in 2011 and has since returned to normal life. But she says trying to return to normalcy after being incarcerated was difficult. Amanda says that she believes Gypsy Rose's sudden rise to fame and the circumstances surrounding her mother's passing might make it difficult to overcome her years in prison. In a piece for the Free Press, Amanda wrote, "When I look at Gypsy, even though she was guilty and I was innocent, I see the blundering into freedom in the exact same way that I did. I've learned that I am more than the worst thing that ever happened to me, but where there is value in sharing my story with others, I'm entitled to do so." The same goes for Gypsy. Amanda went on to say, now that she's admitted to what she's done and served her time, she doesn't owe anybody anything. According to experts, Gypsy was a victim of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Dee falsely claimed that she suffered from an array of illnesses, including leukemia and muscular dystrophy. Her mother shaved her head, forced her into a wheelchair, had some of her teeth removed, and paraded her at charitable events like a sickly child, including fully paid trips to Disney World, all because she wanted to be seen as a caretaker. She lied about an induced illness in her own daughter. The truth about the situation only came out after Gypsy arranged for an online boyfriend to take out Dee in 2015, Joy Behar. While going on The View, Gypsy spoke about her life in prison and her plans to use her platform to advocate for other victims of Munchausen by proxy. During the interview, she said, "If there is someone out there watching right now, please listen to me. Heed my words, that you are not alone in this situation. There are other ways out. I did it the wrong way." But this is where she gets interrupted by Joy Behar, who seemed to forget that Gypsy actually had committed a crime. She said, no honey, don't say that. You had no choice really. And then in response, Gypsy said, "Well, I did. I did something wrong. I paid my dues for it." It was only at this moment that Joy seemed to remember what happened to the death of her mother, because she says, "Oh, you mean that part? Oh yeah, never mind." Of course, this part of the interview went viral because of how ridiculous it was. At a certain point, Anna Navarro feels a need to say that the crime itself was wrong, which just speaks to how confused Joy really was. It's great to see that she was siding with Gypsy, considering the fact that she was a victim of her circumstances, but she very casually almost justified the crime. So it is a little awkward for those people who were watching, but hey, at least she got out of it alright. And it's definitely not the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened on The View. In the new docuseries, there's a number of times when family or professionals could have stepped in and removed Gypsy from her mother's care. Speaking about it now, Gypsy feels that a big part of it was that there were people who had suspicions, family included, but nobody actually wanted to rock the boat. It wasn't brought up to other people and it was not talked about. So people kept their suspicions to themselves just for fear of upsetting her mother and ultimately pushing them away as friends. She does believe that certain doctors also had their suspicions, but at the end of the day, it also has to do with money. She said they were making money off of her, and in that profession, that came first. At one point though, CPS did actually come to their house to check on her, but they were asking the wrong kinds of questions, saying things like, "Show me your arms, show me your legs, let me check for bruises." And at that point, her mum never actually hit her, so of course they didn't end up finding anything. They just came the one time and then they closed the file on her. Unfortunately, that visit only caused Dee to become increasingly more paranoid. She actually went as far as to remove the doorbell on their door because she was just so worried about CPS coming back. When Gypsy Rose was released from prison, one of the first things she planned to do was try to meet Taylor Swift. In prison, she spent all of her commissary money buying all her albums, but sadly she has not managed to meet her favorite artists. It was reported that she was forced to leave Missouri by her parole officer, where the Chiefs game where she planned to meet Taylor was held. So it's upsetting that she still was not allowed to meet her idol, though it's not entirely surprising. But she has been up to a lot since leaving prison, including going shopping and a welcome home party. The very first thing that Gypsy did after she was released was going to buy a new pair of shoes. She was filmed going into a shoe shop with her husband Ryan Anderson, wearing unfastened boots that didn't seem to fit her. She was then pictured absolutely beaming with her new pair of trainers. Her first post on Instagram after being released was captioned "First selfie of freedom," where she showed off her new pink iPhone 15 in a hotel room next to a crate of Dr. Pepper. Since coming home, Gypsy had a welcome party as well as a New Year's Eve party. Her sister Mia Blanchard posted a video of her on Instagram with a confetti cannon in front of huge welcome home balloons and a big cake. She also had a party on New Year's Eve where she posted a photo of a New Year's Eve kiss with her husband Ryan. In another picture she posted a few days later, she showed off her new wedding ring as well as a fresh set of nails. That picture was captioned, "Finally get to wear my beautiful wedding ring." Since her release, Gypsy has also done a series of high-profile interviews along with her husband, who she met while she was in prison. And she's been very active on social media, which has been met with mixed reactions. In a comment section on Instagram, she gushed about her love life and defended her husband from backlash, writing, "They jealous because you are rocking my world every night. Yeah, I said it, the D is fire. Happy wife, happy life." It's been said that Gypsy has been a prisoner twice in her life, once as an inmate and before that at the hands of her own mother. So after serving 8 years behind bars, she's now ready to start fresh and finally experience freedom for the first time.